call to order and roll call for September 5th, 2017 regular meeting.
Mrs. Dozal. Here. Mr. Wright.
Here.
Mrs. Hawkins. Here. Mr. Salcido.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here. All right, stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stand and join me in a moment of silence, please. All right. Thank you all. And again, welcome everybody to our regular scheduled meeting.
What? Can't hear you, sir.
I said, welcome to our September 5th, 2017 regular meeting.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Preliminary items, number 2, letter A, adopt agenda. Move to adopt agenda for September 5th, 2017 as presented.
I so moved. Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Salcido.
Yes.
Mrs. Hawkins.
Yes.
Mr. Wright.
Yes.
Mrs. Dozal.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes. Letter B, move to accept the minutes of August 1st, 7th, and the 22nd for 2017 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I'd like to ask that the documentation during the budget workshop, can that be added to the board docs? The documentation?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was presented?
Yes.
Yes, I can do that.
I think that'd be good for public.
All right.
Mr. Salcido.
Yes.
Mrs. Hawkins.
Yes.
Mr. Wright.
Yes.
Mrs. Dozal.
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell.
Yes. All right, one of our exciting parts. Number 3, recognition, CT Student of the Month.
They moved the order.
Yeah, we moved you up in order.
Thank you, President Mitchell.
You're welcome.
I'm used to going after Rotary. I'm kind of napping back. All right, this month I'm honored to present the CTE Student of the Month to Chloe Buchanan. Mr. John Morris nominated Chloe and shared this statement with me. When it comes to enthusiasm for engineering, no one embodies this trait more than Chloe Buchanan. Not only is Chloe one of our top students in the CGUHSD STEM program, but she has stepped up to accept leadership roles as robotics team president and project manager, CGUHS Chief Science Officer, and chair of the CGUHS STEM Advisory Committee. Additionally, Chloe has stepped up as a student leader in the classroom, taking charge of organizing and facilitating a mentoring program for freshmen in our STEM program. Chloe is also becoming known around the state by those in industry, government, and academia because of her recent success managing and facilitating 2 conference sessions at the 7th Annual Arizona SciTech Festival Kickoff Conference. Personally, I've found that Chloe is a very deep and caring person. Chloe meets challenges head-on with positive attitude and boundless energy. She is someone who I've come to rely on. I know that if I ask Chloe to complete a task, it will get done. It is for these reasons and many others that Mr. Morris has nominated Chloe as the September CTE Student of the Month. Chloe, congratulations. Chloe's parents are with us. So Chloe, if you go shake hands. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. Go down this way too?
The whole audience too. Oh, really? Thank you.
Not the audience.
Not the audience, no, don't.
You gotta take some pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving on to our next recognition would be letter B for Rotary student.
We don't have those this month. We had organized.
All right. All right, moving on to number 4, public comment, call to the public. And, keep going, let me read this. Call to the public, this is the time for the public to comment. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pertinent to ARS 38-431-01H, actions taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and discussion at a later date. And we will move right on to those public comments. Mrs. Russell.
On the agenda item.
Are we allowed,
They can do it either now or during the agenda item.
Okay.
If it's on the agenda. If it's not on the agenda, they do it.
all right, Bobby?
Yep. Okay. So can you answer questions if it's an agenda item? You can.
You can if it's agenda.
No, it just says.
I thought it said if it's not specifically addressed on the agenda.
If it's not on the agenda.
It is. The first, I've got two. So the first one, I've got questions about the MOU that I'm hoping you can answer.
Yeah, it says members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. So you have two of these items you will be talking directly for.
Yeah,
Okay.
the MOU specifically addresses the MOU that we all know about, and we've all heard about for however many months. So I definitely have a few issues with the MOU. I brought it up last meeting, but I have some additional ones. First is, what percentage coverage does the CGEA have currently?
I don't have that information.
Okay, because we're assuming that they have enough coverage, and we're putting this voting on this meet and confer policy, and they may not even have 25%. And so it doesn't make any sense to me to have that, to keep pushing this policy when we may not even have an association that you should be having these negotiations with. Second is, where in there does administration get to have input after the certified staff meet? Because I didn't see anything. It looks to me like it goes straight from staff to the board. Did I read that correctly?
No, it looks like, if I go back, and I don't have it in front of me, but it looks like there is an IBM process, which they come to and they discuss and they have resolution, and then they
Okay.
present it to the board.
So, and maybe I just misread it. So they do, so it is administration and the staff come together, and they meet and confer, and then bring their recommendations to the board.
It's all done in the IBM process, so
Okay.
whether it's working with the administration or working with the facilitator or the administration, whatever the case may be, it's all done in the IBM process.
Okay.
It is bypasses the superintendent.
It bypasses the superintendent?
Correct, yes.
Why are we bypassing the superintendent?
Because it goes into having a seat and talking about it at the IBM process. The superintendent has an opportunity to go into the IBM process, so does administration, so does all staff goes in, and they talk about it in the IBM process. They come up with and talk and discuss about agreeing on what is gonna be moving forward for the board.
Okay. And then, what controls are gonna be put in place that to keep from happening what happened in the past? Where, from what I've read, don't quote me, but what I've read is there's been double dipping, and that teachers who are getting professional development credit that they have to have in order to keep their certification are also getting that credit for horizontal advancement. Are there safeguards in place to keep that from happening going forward?
That would probably all be done in through the IBM process. I don't know, I don't have enough information on that.
Okay. So my background is auditing, so I'm big on controls and processes, and so not having adequate processes in place opens the district up to manipulation, in my opinion. And so I just want you to consider that in maybe a revision or whatever. I know it's been revised so many times, everybody's getting sick and tired of it, I get it, but I want to make sure that when you guys do adopt it, it's protecting the district adequately.
Well, Bobby, that's a good question. So you hit the nail on the head. There is not a filter in there. I mean, so if you go back to the elementary school district, the filter is the superintendent. And so we're bypassing the superintendent. And so it makes, and I agree, again, this is the perfect time since you asked me, just to let the public know here. I mean, so there's no checks and balances. It goes off through it. And so if you go back to the elementary school district, it has to go through the superintendent. And ultimately, going through a procedure chart or org chart, it bypasses everybody on the org chart. It goes straight from the bottom, it bypasses everybody here, and goes, yeah, this is the bottom of the, if you go through an org chart, it's the bottom.
But it was brought up this year in Meet and Confer, and they postponed it because not everybody was in agreement with it or anything else. So, I mean, it worked right then and there. It was brought up, they discussed it, and they put it off.
And I'm not saying it can't work, okay? I'm not saying it can't. I'm saying it's just like your accounting system. Without adequate controls in place, there can be manipulation, there can be errors, there can be omissions. So without checks and balances in place in processes like these, they are prone to being manipulated. And that's what I don't want to see. I want our district protected. I want our tax dollars protected. Okay, so that's why I'm bringing it up. So that's what I have on the MOU. Again, I asked last meeting, I don't know if you guys are ever going to answer it. I'd love to hear from the three board members who voted to not extend Shannon's contract. I'd love to hear why. I think we're owed that. I really do. We expect that from our elected officials. We expect transparency. And so I don't understand why you guys had the opportunity to do that when you voted no, but you chose not to have discussion, and that makes it feel even worse. So I still would love to have that question answered. I know you guys can't answer it today. I'd love it if you guys can answer it.
Since we're just, and you're right, there is checks and balances, and that's why the process is set up the way it is. The checks and balances are the 5 elected board members. That's the final checks and balances. So, and it does go, and it does work with the superintendent on trying to work with his budget. Within the budget, they all bring things to the table and they discuss. So the checks and balances are there, and it all falls back onto the board. So ultimately, it's responsible of the board, the responsibility of the board to make sure that those checks and balances are here too. So that's what it is. And what I'll do is I will go ahead and read this. I was going to save it for the thing, but since you brought it up, and addressing this is basically from your last meeting. Many have expressed concerns regarding the board's decision regarding the non-renewal of Dr. Goodsell's contract. The
Wait a
district,
minute, where did this come from?
me.
Why have you not shared that with us?
Right.
You're making a statement for the board,
No, I'm making a statement, Mr.
but you're answering why the board
I'm not
did
answering-
not.
No.
Is that on the agenda?
No, it's addressing Mr. Mickelson.
But that's an answer on why the board did not renew his contract.
No, no, it's not. It doesn't say that at all.
Wes,
This is a discussion.
Wes, there is no discussion like that on the agenda, and that violates
No.
the process.
The process is addressing.
Wes,
And I'm open to the
Mr.
decision.
President, you're violating
Order.
And I
the
can
law.
address it.
Wes,
What am I
Right now,
violating?
process.
What process?
Mine.
What
You're
process?
violating due process.
What
I'm
process?
advising you, as the superintendent of schools, you need to stop.
What am I gonna stop for? Go ahead.
I'm just telling you, you're violating due process and open meeting record law.
Okay, all right, then Bobby, I'll adjust it in a different way. Okay? Sorry, I could adjust.
No worries, thank you.
Okay.
I would like to address, and I'm sorry about my voice, but as far as the horizontal advancement, that's a different policy, and it has a checks and balances, even in the past, that anything that was used for certification couldn't be used for horizontal advancement. And that includes anything that the state requires, or even if you wanted to get something that was required to update, like an ESL endorsement. You couldn't earn the additional credit unless the district said yes to it prior. So we did have some checks and balances, and that will stay in place.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. And Mr. O'Neill.
I'm afraid like Bobby, I don't have any prepared remarks, but I do want to talk for just a second to the board in generally, and frankly to the audience too. You know, we're dealing with a couple of issues here. And frankly, these issues are much more symptoms of a much larger problem. And I'm concerned about how we're attempting to resolve them. And what I mean by that is that before me, I see a board that I see 2 members listening to the public and 3 members listening to district employees. And this really concerns me because what I see is no movement at all. And what I'm also seeing is amongst the public, people on extreme sides that are highly anti-union, anti-teacher, and people who are much more moderate, including myself. And I think somewhere in the whole process, everybody needs to draw a few lines as to what is appropriate and what is not. I received 2 private messages this morning. One of them with veiled threats as to my wife, and one of them with respect to children that are inside the district from one of our district teachers that appears to have accessed district records inappropriately. Now, I'm just saying because I've listened to a number of teachers that are members of the CGEA, and I absolutely support teachers, but frankly, amongst the various voices in our community, I believe mine is one of the more moderate. And I think when you start threatening students, you're crossing a major line. And I really encourage you to start thinking about what the long-term ramifications are for a public school district to disenfranchise the public from this formula.
Mr. O'Neill, did you want to discuss the MOU?
Yes, I'd like to discuss that
Okay.
when it comes up.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Morris. Wilkie, horizontal investment?
I'm going to stand here. Members of the board, after reading the Sunday front page story in the Dispatch, more documents shed light on teacher salary advancement at CGUHSD, I was dismayed. I spoke about the horizontal advancement at a board meeting several years ago, and I would like to reaffirm what I stated at that time. My name is Lisa Morris-Wilkie, and I've been an educator in Casa Grande since 1991. I have spent my entire career in Casa Grande. I taught at CG Elementary prior to becoming the librarian at Union 6 years ago in November. My 2 children graduated from the school district, and my husband also works in Casa Grande. We are a family invested in our community as well as in public education. As for the horizontal placement, I quote the newspaper article that states that current policies of the high school district now model the policy of the elementary school district. In fact, I would like to read CGL's policy as per their website. Horizontal movement on the salary schedule is contingent upon the completion of graduate coursework which is relevant to the teacher's job function, which will be a benefit to the district and which has received prior approval. Salary credit will not be available for courses offered through the district staff development program, undergraduate courses, or other workshops or conferences. In this policy, there is no mention of receiving an advanced degree. I am a proponent of learning. I am a librarian. It's what I do. I have 2 master's degrees, one in education and one in library science. I have certificate endorsements in gifted ed, media center, reading, language arts, 7A, and SEI. I attend conferences often paid for by me. I read professional books often purchased with my own money. I love learning. I am not, however, in a position in my life where I would like to obtain another degree. I don't want a 3rd master's or a doctorate. I would, however, like to continue learning in the area of my position in librarianship. There are numerous courses I would like to take that would increase my knowledge so that I would be able to help my students at a higher level. Maybe a course on online searching or utilizing databases. When I found out that the district was changing its horizontal advancement policy, I was hopeful that it would indeed mirror CGL, but I was disheartened to realize that it would not. I would like to be recognized for my extra work. I have felt anger after reading the articles in the paper about an apparent connection between teachers that are making in the top 30% and a membership in the association in an attempt to smear certain teachers' reputations. I am a teacher that has had their name listed in the newspaper in both of those accounts. That I am so does not mean I receive preferential treatment from any board member. That I have to stand here and defend myself in itself is insulting and demoralizing. My salary does mean I work hard and care about being a professional in my field. When comments are made like the ones in the newspaper, they discredit all teachers. That being said, I am proud to be an educator at CGUHS, and I'm incredibly proud to have such hardworking, intelligent, quality teachers as colleagues. Thank you.
Nathan?
If it's possible, can I delay till after Amanda goes?
Sure. Amanda, would you like to go?
Sure. I'm losing my voice today. Ice cream causes drowning deaths. One of the first things I teach my statistics students is that correlation does not prove causation. Just because 2 things are related does not mean that one caused the other. There could be confounding or lurking variables that exist, such as weather in my example. My name is Amanda Sheila. You probably have read about me in the paper a couple of times. I've been teaching high school math for almost 20 years. I have taught math at the community college. For the past 12 years, I have taught and worked for the Casa Grande Union High School District. I started at Casa Grande Union High School teaching geometry, eventually Ames Prep and college math. I also started their AP Statistics program. I moved to Vista when it opened, teaching math and working closely with the self-contained gifted program. I've continued to teach math and gifted at Vista the past 9 years. Over the years, I've taught a variety of classes ranging from Algebra 1 all the way to dual credit college algebra trigonometry. I currently teach 1 section of gifted, 1 section of AP Statistics, 2 sections of Honors Algebra 3 trigonometry, and 2 sections of Edgenuity. Both of my Edgenuity classes contain students in Algebra 1 Semester 1, Algebra 1 Semester 2, Algebra 2 Semester 1, Algebra 2 Semester 2, Geometry 1, and Geometry 2. That means there's 6 different courses happening in the same time, and I'm tutoring all of them as they need it. I enjoy the wide range of ability and backgrounds our students have. I, along with many math teachers in our district, sell my prep to ensure that our students have a highly qualified math teacher. I have sold my prep or taught extended day courses the majority of my years in Casa Grande. I'm very proud of my department and everything that they do. We had many changes last year, switching from block to traditional schedule, going 1-to-1, and adding the Pearson curriculum. My department has worked hard to implement each of these changes to benefit our students. I began taking additional classes while living in Nebraska. I started my Master's of Arts for Teachers of Mathematics, and I finished it shortly after moving to Arizona. I didn't want to stop learning after that. Like Lisa, I'm a lifelong learner. My principal at the time sent out notices of additional programs and master's degrees available. I became interested in the Education, Media, Design, and Technology Master of Science. I signed up and completed my second master's degree. While working on this, my professors encouraged us to learn as much as we could about as many programs as we could. I read up and watched videos on anything and everything that I would be useful to me in my profession, or programs that my students might use. ASHIT was made available for teachers, I believe it was through ASU, in our district to learn new approaches of teaching different things. I took classes to learn new ways to teach a variety of math topics. I found that the A's prep classes I was teaching had a lot of students that didn't like math, and I didn't understand why they needed it. So I took classes in accounting that would give me additional ways to show my students real-world applications of mathematics. I have students in my classes that don't speak English very well, so one summer I signed up for Spanish. I didn't learn enough Spanish to communicate with my students, but I did get a glimpse of what it feels like to sit in a room and have no idea what is being said. It reinforced what I knew about not just saying something, but also writing it down. I recognize still to this day the wide eyes and blank stares, and it reminds me to speak a bit slower and repeat things without drawing attention to those students that are already uncomfortable. I took NAU select classes in special education, learning about teaching gifted students and other students with special needs. In 2015, I was named the Arizona Gifted Teacher of the Year. I continue to learn new things. I looked into getting a doctorate a few years ago, but the educational statistics programs that I like require me to get out of the classroom, and I'm not ready to do that. Since my son was born, I've slowed down on the amount of things that I do. I am currently the student council sponsor, math department chair, teacher, mentor, and I serve on the district curriculum cadre. Those are my 3 paid positions. They were not always paid. I'm a member of the PLC guiding team, 301 committee, and BG accreditation team. I coordinate the tutors on my campus in math and English, and I answer as many questions as I can for potential incoming gifted students. When they come, their parents want to know what our program's like, what do we have. Counselors call me, I meet with them. I helped develop the math placement exam for incoming 8th graders. I worked at getting an honors algebra 1 along with half-paced algebra 1 course in our course catalog to better serve the needs of our students. It's not one size fits all. Our kids need to be able to, if they come in 8th grade ready for geometry, great. Some of them come in, they need to go a little bit slower. I think it's helped so we don't have as many students repeating those math classes. Again, I slowed down a little bit since he was born. My summers are spent working on curriculum, updating the common assessments, and our common curriculum maps, attending conferences, or working with student council. Thank you.
Comment, Ms. Mitchell?
Sure.
After hearing Amanda's talk, I want everybody, I don't think I have to tell anybody that's been around here a long time, but I think Amanda and Nathan represent some of the best teachers that we have in the school. And they are, along with many others, they are great. But if you look into their activity roster and the things they do extra for our school, it's pretty populated with the Sheila name. And I think they are a great asset to our students and our school and what we stand for. And I'd like to thank them both, and I'd like to thank them all. But thank you.
Nathan.
All right, normally I speak kind of from the hip. I don't have things written down. When it comes to a lot of things, I pretty much have spoken what I've needed to say. So I'm actually reading statements and things from various other people. My wife had no idea what I have here, so this is all a surprise to her. A couple weeks ago, she received a message from a parent of a former student, and I adjusted the pronouns and the pacing of it a little bit to meet the fact I'm speaking it to you instead of her reading it. My son was home the other night for dinner and finally filled us in on his class schedule. His first college math course is analytical geometry and calculus. He is pretty excited to be the youngest student-only freshman in this class. He thinks he'll be fine because the instructor's style is similar to Mrs. Sheeler's style of teaching. I'm compelled to share this with you because he followed that up by telling us she was the best math teacher he has ever had and learned a lot from her. I'm so grateful that her influence has inspired him to continue his education with such enthusiasm and confidence. I'm sure she does not hear it as much as she should. Thank you for all you do. My child is better off because she was a part of his life. Keep up the great work. Then this weekend, a very large amount of students had reached out to Amanda to let her know they were thinking about her and they're there to support her. And I reached out to a lot of them and I got a lot of responses back from them. I asked them just for a few things. Like many of my students that don't listen to me well, they actually wrote pages of stuff, so I will, instead of just a few items, so I have 3 specific ones that I'm going to read from them. This first one is a graduate of ASU's Honors College. It is clear to myself and other fellow students that Mrs. Sheila made exceptional and perhaps unparalleled efforts to better our learning environment. She made so many of us eager to come to class, not because she was a fun teacher, which she was, but because the environment she created was passionate, safe, and engaging. These are qualities that I very seldom found in other classrooms in my high school or university education. Her involvement in so many clubs and extracurricular activities and her steadfast attempts to include new technologies in the lesson will always be appreciated. Even in college, Mrs. Sheila came up often in conversations with fellow VG alumni, contrasting her with a less than optimal university professor. Ultimately, her additional efforts outside of the classroom produced better students. This next one's from a graduate of NAU. I had Mrs. Sheila as a teacher all 4 years of my high school career and can honestly say that she changed my life in more ways than one. First of all, I'm not good at math. Math has always frustrated me. In the classroom, Mrs. Sheila is patient and helps you make connections between math and the real world. Mrs. Sheila helped me feel confident enough to take AP statistics, which later helped me be prepared for my college-level math classes. Second, Mrs. Sheila helped pioneer the gifted program at Vista Grande, which was hands down the best experience in my high school education. Because of Mrs. Sheila's influence and mentorship, I discovered countless skills that I never knew I had, specifically in leadership. I became a leader when I was always just a follower. She helped me challenge myself and look outside the box. However, the biggest reason Mrs. Sheila has changed my life is because of her, I decided I wanted to become a teacher in secondary education. I'm now a teacher at a junior high, and without her, I would not be impacting the lives of my students like she impacted mine. This last one is a graduate of a college in Montana, and she's currently in Peru. There are a handful of teachers that are the core of what has made Vista Grande a great high school. These teachers put time and energy into developing sports, clubs, and organizations when our school was a baby and these extracurricular activities were non-existent. Mrs. Sheila was one of these teachers. Besides being a fabulous math teacher who somehow made AP Stats fun, she was part of the backbone that pulled Vista Grande together. If you list all the qualities of a person you would want to teach your child, Mrs. Sheila is more than qualified. The students have always come first. Mrs. Sheila was an active member, sponsor of multiple groups on campus. Any skill a student wanted to gain during their high school experience, she has helped in some way or another make possible. I remember watching her use her entire lunch break to cut squares of fabric. Some fellow students had expressed an interest in quilting. Bam! There was going to be a quilting class club after school. Unfortunately, no one showed up. Mrs. Sheila gives her heart in everything she does for her students, even if it goes unnoticed. I personally loved having a teacher who was accessible, enthusiastic, and caring 24/7. If you need help with school, then she is there before, during, and after. If you need help applying for a scholarship, then she will pull up a chair. If you need to vent about teenage life problems, then she is there to listen. Her classroom is filled with color and warmth. Jokes are always welcome, and there is never a stupid question. Her room is a safe place where students can learn and be themselves. No one can deny that she is passionate about math with her pie tattoo and International Pie Day celebrations. She has dedicated her life to education. Like any great teacher, she is always collaborating with colleagues to improve. Mrs. Sheila generally loves math and seeing the light bulb go on in students' heads when they finally understand a new concept. She believes in her students and helps them believe in themselves. She loves her students. After graduating in 2012, she posted on the Vista's Facebook page asking everyone how we were doing and where in our lives we are now. No matter how many years we've been out of her classroom, we will always be her students. And this is the type of teacher that is being attacked. for being a great teacher. And it just saddens me. And she's not the only teacher in this district that would get responses like this. But yet, these teachers are being attacked for being teachers and getting paid for the extra things they do.
I get two that wish to address on a particular item, and that wraps up all the call to the public. Anybody else has part that they didn't get turned in? Okay. All right, letter B, superintendent's report.
Yeah, first thing is I want to thank everyone for coming out to the board meetings tonight. Truly, it shows that our community is interested in our school district and interested in the future of our school district. So thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. I'm going to talk about something really exciting in my superintendent's report, and it's solar panels. I know everyone came to hear about solar panels, but I need to update the board in regards to what's going on with solar panels. The solar panels kind of starts with a story. Prior to my arrival in 2000, can you hear me back there? Maybe no? Okay. I'll come back over here. Okay. Prior to my arrival in 2012, the school district had solar panels. They're really nice, they're shady, you get a park underneath them, and it doesn't melt your steering wheel or fry your fingers when you grab a hold of that handle. So that makes a really nice bonus. However, the solar panels are not doing what the solar panels are supposed to be doing. And what that is saving us money. Underneath the provisions of state law and underneath the contract that was promised by a company called Constellation, we were supposed to gather energy from the sun, and that was supposed to get converted into electricity, and it was supposed to kind of help drop the gap between what we were paying from APS and what the solar panels were producing. Sadly, it is not doing that. And a matter of fact, in certain instances, we're not breaking even. It's actually costing us money at this point to have the solar panels. So here's where we are in regards to trying to resolve the contract that I inherited, and I want to thank Mr. Mace, who's out in the hallway, who's really been helping us with the solar panels. The first thing that we did is we started taking a look at some of the electric bills, and we started noticing anomalies in those electric bills and kind of saying this stuff is just not really adding up. But of course, we wanted to give the contract a little bit of time to work because the solar panels were new. They're brand new. They just got installed. As time went on, we noticed the anomalies were a little bit greater than what we had anticipated. And I'll go over some of that in regards to the board here in just a second, because those are my pretty drawings I did before the board meeting. I don't get a chance to teach very often, so I put stuff up on the board. But in essence, what we did is Mr. Mason and I tried the free route first. We contacted APS, the local electric company, to try to get some information about the solar panels and to take a look at our contract, taking a look at the kilowatt hours and how much electricity the panels were producing, and kind of give us a ballpark if we were looking at what we thought we were looking at or if we were just looking at it wrong. The report came back from APS that our suspicions were confirmed, and the solar panel contract and the solar panels themselves were not doing what they were supposed to be doing, and in essence, we were not saving money. That is, by definition, a violation of state law, because the state law initiated regarding solar panels in public institutions says if you're going to have solar panels, you got to save money. That's the whole primary purpose of going solar, right? I mean, that's why we put them on our houses. We want to make sure that we are making some money and saving some money for the school district. We took that information back to Constellation from the report that we got from APS. They emphatically disagreed with that report from APS. And we told them, fine, we understand. So we decided to go with a third-party expert in regards to solar panels and schools. And he produced oh my gosh, it was like 2 3-ring binders worth of stuff about yay thick in regards to every engineering thing that you could ever possibly imagine about solar panels, electricity, kilowatt hours, and rates. And Tim Mace and I's head are swimming while we're trying to go through all of this stuff, but I'll sum those 2 3-ring binders up on the board here in just a second. But in essence, the report that came back from the expert in the field who has studied school districts and governmental entities that have had solar panels before, it was almost identical to the APS report that we got for free. And that report basically said, solar panels are not doing what it's supposed to be doing per the contract. Y'all are losing money. You can't lose money because that's a violation of state law. So we took that information back to Constellation, again, to try and have another sit-down meeting with the owners of the solar panels, because we're leasing them. We are on year 6 of a 20-year contract that was signed I think maybe it was finalized a month before I came to the district. So we're on year 6 of a 20-year contract with Constellation regarding these solar panels. And so we're in it for the long haul with Constellation. So we took the information back that we got from a third-party provider and we said, hey, we've already given you one report, says it wasn't good. We've given you a second report, and the second report says the same thing as the first report. So let's talk. Okay? Well, we got them to the table. They started talking. They didn't like what we had to say, and so that went away. So what the school district did, in its infinite wisdom, is we decided that we were going to start withholding payments from Constellation in regards to our electric bill. Not that we didn't have the money. We put the money in a specialized account in an effort to try and get Constellation back to the negotiating table so that we could have a conversation. That produced some fruit, and they came back to the table, and we had some conversations, and the conversation in essence went, we understand that the solar panels are overproducing, and we understand that you're not making the money that the contract says that you're supposed to make. However, we just don't think it's the difference is what you're telling us. You're in this ballpark over here, and we're way over here in this ballpark, because we don't even think that you're even close, and we don't think that your expert is accurate and correct. So that conversation did not go very well. At that point in time, Mr. Mason and I we contacted an attorney, D. Cassini. I believe he's out of Tucson. He is also an expert, a legal expert with school districts in regards to solar contracts. We're not the only governmental or school entity that's had problems with solar panels and solar panel contracts. And apparently they have got specific lawyers who deal with these types of issues. So we have one of those attorneys, and so he started visiting with Constellation, and the moment that happened, all conversation with Constellation has ceased since July 17th. All of our efforts to try and get Constellation back to the negotiating table has not produced any fruit. Sadly, I will tell you, we are the government, so while we can kind of withhold some payments as an effort to get you to the negotiating table, ultimately, we have to pay the bill. And so we withhold money, and then we pay a big chunk. We withhold money again, try to get them to the negotiating table, we pay a big chunk. So in essence, what is happening with Constellation is they're just kind of waiting out our lump sum payments as we go through the process of trying to negotiate this out. So let me kind of explain to you in a quick nutshell what the fuss is about regarding these two humongous binders that we have regarding this audit. And this may explain a little bit about your electric bills at your house, too, if you're kind of ever wondering. And Tim Mason and I have been through this so much, we feel like we have a PhD in kilowatt hours. It has been an exhausting process. The first one is we're going to talk about peak demand. So APS is required by state statute in order to be able to produce the amount of electricity at the peak capacity for the state and for its customers. And of course, that peak capacity time, as we all know in Arizona, is like 2:30, because it is hot. And everybody is cranking on their AC, right? Okay, schools, governmental entities, every single thing in the state of Arizona, and that little wheel on that electric meter is just humming. Okay, so APS is required to be able to handle all of that production of electricity. That is the rules, that's the law. They have to have all of the nuclear generators, the coal generators, all of the power plants to support the electricity going out. And not only that, but they have to have the grid. That's the infrastructure or the lines that go into your house. Okay? And that even means the grid out in the remote areas, way out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. Okay? So with that, on your bill, in 2011, there's a fee that exists. And there's a fee on every year, but in 2011, the peak demand was about this much of your electric bill. It was a small portion of your electric bill, okay? And that's a fee, and most of it is to maintain the grid and to make sure to do the maintenance on the power plants, those kind of things. And then the rest of your bill is what you owed in regards to the amount of electricity that you used. Everybody still, okay. What changed in 2012 is APS went to the Corporation Commission and they made an agreement on a rate change of peak demand, time, and fees associated for the state of Arizona because we've grown as a state. We've got more people and we're burning more electricity. So they got a rate change, okay? Per our contract with Constellation, that's not our problem. Constellation was kind enough to pass all that stuff kind of on to us. So we're still buying the electricity, or still utilizing the electricity that we use, and now we have this fluctuations of rate changes that is costing us in regards to the rate side of the house, okay? Second issue that exists, this is probably phase 2 of those big, huge 3-ring binders, is in regards to the kilowatt hours of use. And remember, we're on year 6 of a 2-year contract, and the study that they did only covers 4 years of solar panel use. And out of the 4 years of the solar panel use, according to our expert, so please understand that, the expert from Constellation says this number is not anywhere close to what it should be, because everybody's got an expert. But according to the expert that we hired from the school district, which was a third-party provider, Constellation owes the school district $480,000 over 4 years. A lot. Now, you can start to see Mr. Mason and I's concern when you're dealing with a 20-year contract at a rate of about $120,000 a year is what this company owes us in regards to solar panels. It's going to wind up being a bunch. It's going to wind up being a bunch. I believe, of course, I'm not an expert in solar panels, nor am I an expert in electricity, but I believe that this $120,000 per year is going to get exponentially higher for 2 reasons. Number one is that APS is already talking to the Corporation Commission about another rate change. So if you thought your electric bills were not high enough, they're going to go higher because they're having more issues in regards to this peak grid time and maintaining the grid, because as we grow into the rural areas, they got to put more lines out into the middle of the desert, and they're just passing those expenses on to the consumers, and that's kind of the way that happens, and that's the way that happens with the phone company, the internet service. You guys know how it goes. So other issues that we have is in regards to use. What is interesting in regards to our district is that our use over the course of time has actually dropped. I'm really proud of the things that the maintenance department has done, and Mr. Mason and I have been able to write some grants. Matter of fact, we've written over $2 million worth of grants in the last 5 years in order to help fix the school district. These are $2 million worth of funding that did not have to go to the taxpayers in regards to a bond issue. We have fixed roofs, we have resealed and repainted buildings, we have got brand new air conditioning units that have gone into union because those air conditioning units need to be taken out back and shot. They were about 17, 18 years old. So everything that we have done in regards to maintenance and upgrades to the facilities has caused some sort of energy savings, whether that is in changing filters or light bulbs and balances. Every opportunity that we get, we put in high energy stuff. We invest the dollars to get some high energy stuff for the long run so that we can decrease our utility bills over the course of time. And that's what good schools and good businesses do as they operate. So in essence, this would have been, on my ugly drawing, this would have been our bill from APS. And so according to the contract, this little gap that would have gone across the top of all of here, this would have been our cost savings per the contract. However, because we have put in some energy efficiencies and we have made our school district more energy efficient, we are actually using less. So at some point in time, the solar panels are overproducing. Per the contract, we must buy every piece of electricity that the solar panels generate. whether we need it or whether we don't need it, per the contract.
Pretty bad contract.
Yeah. So, we're in the process, Mr. Mace and I are in the process, working with the school district's attorney to bring Constellation back to the negotiating table so that we can come up with some sort of a resolution, because we got $480,000, in my opinion, that belongs to the school district, and they owe us. Okay? Now, Constellation does not believe that. Please understand, that's my opinion, that's the opinion of a third-party provider, and that's the opinion of the school district's legal counsel. Their legal counsel has a completely different opinion about this number. So right now we are at an impasse, and all conversation between the school district and Constellation has stopped since July 17th. We're going to try a couple more times in order to get the organization and entity back to the table, because we are knee-deep locked into the company for 20 years, actually about another 14. If that does not happen, sadly, sometime in the spring, I may be bringing forth a recommendation to tell the school's attorney to go sick on it. Because at that point in time, I don't really know what else to do, and all other options has failed. But what I will tell you is that we cannot get upwards in years in regards to this contract and get as unbalanced as we are per the contract. So, any questions on solar panels? I know that was riveting for everybody. Any questions? Okay, if you want some good sleeping material, I have 2 3-ring binders for you.
Who signed the original contract?
Huh?
Who signed the original contract?
The
Hopefully they're not a
previous
part of this school district anymore.
Yeah, the previous superintendent is the one that negotiated the contract. So, you got to believe that they did so in good faith. And of course, I will say, in Constellation's defense, and that's a great question, Mark, in Constellation's defense, we were their first project of this magnitude and size. They have done other schools since they have put in ours. I will tell you, they are much better. Okay? We were kind of their guinea pig. And yay. So we're kind of paying the price for it, and so, but we'll get there, one way or another, we'll get there. But these are the things that Mr. Mace and I have been working on. Tim, how long have we been working on solar panels? 3, 4 years? Yeah, we've been working on solar panels for about 3 to 4 years, but it's time to update the board to let everybody know, because we may be headed into litigation if all conversations cease. Yes, sir.
If the law requires that schools, government entities, as you said, whatever the kind of fits in the parentheses, cannot lose money on a solar contract, does the law give any stipulations of what you therefore must then do? Law no longer allows me to pay, I'm sorry, too bad. Or the law means that we get to seize the equipment, or the law means we get to dig it up and throw it in the trash and recycle it. I mean, you're not a legal expert,
right?
But do you know has your research gotten to the point where the law says the next step, aside from litigation, is?
Well, I'll tell you just a couple of things. First of all, again, I'm not an expert in this field, but it just seems to me that what's causing the overproduction, it's not a lot of solar panels. It seems to me that if they would just remove the solar panels from the bus barn, and then there is one set of solar panels that's on the Vista Grande practice field, that would probably get us back to this at least break-even point. Just my humble, uneducated about this opinion. I have made that suggestion to Constellation in regards to our conversations. They refuse to take them. I have also said, well, what if I just walked over there? There's a nice red lever on that. If I just walked over there and went poof, and now, hey, we're no longer overproducing. We're good. We're not allowed to touch the levers per contract. That would be a violation of the contract, and we'd be subject to a lot of fees and fines and all of those types of things. The sad answer to your question is, we are the government. We have to pay the bill. So it leaves our only course of action as if we can't come to some sort of compromise, our only course of action is litigation. But these are the things that we work on for this district in order to help our district on a daily basis. And I'm really proud of the efforts that Mr. Mace has put in regards to this, in regards to helping me with this project. So,
thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks. That's all I have.
All right. Moving on to number 5, matters reserved for the board action. And we have get into that. Two cards for letter A. Mr. O'Neill.
That's the MOU?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Mary's handing out some papers to you. Those are 2 pages from your own district policy. The first is your oath of office that's required both by board policy and state law. You're required to make that oath prior to taking your position on the board. It's contained in board policy BBBB-E. Basically, you've taken an oath to do your duties as a member of this board. I've highlighted the word duties because those duties are delineated in board policy BBA. That's the second page I've handed you. You go about a third of the way down that page, on bullet point, the 4th bullet point there is the following. To vote and act in board meetings impartially for the good of the district. There appears to be some misunderstanding as to the standards your duties require you to adhere to. As a board member, you're not merely required to enact policies that are legal. You're required to enact policies that are for the good of the district, a much higher standard. In this case, your own attorney has advised you that this policy is detrimental to the district. The suggestion that the wording the attorney objected to has been removed is misleading. You have not allowed your attorney to review the amendments you have made to the policy. In fact, in your last regularly scheduled meeting last month, you defeated a motion to send the policy back to the attorney for his review. If you vote for this policy tonight, you'll be sending a clear message that your attorney's advice does not matter to you, and it does not matter to you that this policy is detrimental to the district. Similarly, both the board policy and your oath itself specifically require you to act impartially. That is, not to act in a way that's partial to any group or discriminated against any group. This policy is anything but impartial. One union, the Casa Grande Education Association, is referred to and referenced in the 5 pages of this document over 15 times. Section A of the policy recognizes only the CGEA and gives it numerous privileges listed under Section D. The CGEA is given this recognition without having to meet any special requirements. Yet, should the American Federation of Teachers or any other union seek to receive those special privileges, they first must meet both a membership test and a test by vote. Obviously, this is highly discriminatory. I believe it is fair to say, because your own attorney has advised you that this policy is detrimental to the district, and because this policy is highly discriminatory, any board member voting for this policy tonight will be in violation of their oath of office.
All right. Mrs. Russell, 5A.
Good evening, and I look around this room, and I see people that I've known for 30 years. I've been a passionate member of this community for that time. My husband and I moved here in 1989 to pursue the American dream and raise our children here. And my kids were educated here, and I chose, out of anywhere in the country that I could teach, to choose the kids in this district. The question I've got as I listen to this, and it's clear that there's passion on both sides, and not even really both sides, on the many sides and perspectives of what are we doing for our kids. I along with Mrs. Wilkie, look at things and I wonder, how are we as educators that feel like we are backed into a corner where we are having to defend our chosen profession and to be paid a living wage? I was surprised in the first article that was published in the Casa Grande Dispatch that the lowest paid person on that list made more money than I make. I'm here to tell you from firsthand experience, I am renting a room in someone's home because I cannot live on the teacher salary I make. I cannot support a mortgage because I love teaching our kids. I sacrifice. I made more money as a department manager at Nordstrom 15 years ago than I make now as an educator, and I have $50,000 in student debt. How have we gotten here as a community that we are so disconnected in terms of what one group of people thinks people make and what translates into what teachers come home and try to support their families with? I don't think any of us want to shove anything down anybody's throat. I think we all want to be fair and educate our kids. They are the #1 resource of this state. And we are doing them a disservice by the infighting and the conflict and the combative nature of what is going on. We need to get things together. If it's the CGEA, and I'm telling you, I am not a major, and I'm sorry, close your ears, all my lovely friends, I am not a huge union advocate, but I am an advocate for being able to pay my bills. And we have not been represented in a way that lets me pay my bills. So if it's the CGEA, if it's a meet and confer, whatever it takes, we need to figure out how to give teachers what they need to be able to do their job. It's a noble and chosen profession. It is not just something, we're not star athletes. All we want to do is make a difference in the world.
All right. Move to approve and adopt the second reading of District Policy HD, meet and confer as presented.
So moved.
What?
I so move.
Wait, are we done?
Yeah, that's what I
Second.
said. Discussion?
Nancy did.
No, I need discussion.
She said it.
I seconded it. He said discussion.
Discussion.
I have discussion. I know it, you are, I thank you for, Ms. Russell, for your statement there, because it is a tough one out here. I mean, it doesn't matter where, I mean, I'll ask one of these young people here, when you come to the board, what do you see? I mean, what do you think of the school board member? What is my job?
To make sure our community progresses as a whole and gets better for the young people coming up.
Absolutely. And so that's a question. We're sitting here, and it is getting kind of embarrassing to the nature it is. It doesn't matter who we are. And I come from, my wife teaches, and she had to make a decision, we had to make a decision based on what she made every year and what's best for, I mean, all of us had, our #1 goal was youth. I mean, that's #1. And I mentioned it before, but unfortunately, we have to make systems. And so what Ms. Russell was saying is, no, I don't care where you're at, let's make it better. And so in order to make it better is to be able to replicate something and make a system. And so a process, and whether the process is, and there's laws of diminished return, you know, yeah, I can't count how much money my wife spent making copies of things, or how much money of my money, or our money, that she spent getting into her kids. But you know what, they love it. I don't think there's a teacher here that you can say that doesn't put everything they have into what they do. I mean, so I hope and I reach out to you and I pray that you know that we genuinely appreciate every teacher out there. I mean, every teacher out here, it's not a teacher in us type deal. If you think my job is against you, it's for everybody. And so our job is tough. And so you said the community and children, that's what we're here for. We're for the whole unit. And so I want to get back to and I'm going to give you the reasons why I'm going to vote no on the MOU. And one of the things you read on here is the third paragraph on it. The specific purpose of the policy is to provide process for governing board to be informed in its decision-making regarding salaries fringe benefits, and working conditions. It is a means to provide information to management on employment, personnel issues, to aid in informed government decisions. And so you're sitting here looking at that, so I'm sitting here, you go back to the procedures on how we're gonna implement this, and there's no checks and balances. I mean, we have an organizational chart in here that starts right here, and it goes around, and it's basically, in order to get something, you have to have a chain of command, or whatever you wanna call it, but it's a process. And when you start bypassing that, it's no longer a process. And so if you look at the procedures in there, and there's nowhere in this procedure that we hold Mr. Goodseller, the superintendent, responsible for meeting budgets, salaries, fringe benefits, all those different facets of our business, but yet he's nowhere in the decision making. So we don't have any control. He's our control. And so that's my number one reason right there, that we need to look at this closer. Because, you know, the system of it is we're making another system to bypass all these people, which are our filters and our checks and balances. And so the second thing is we're going against our legal counsel. That's really, I mean, we're going against his better judgment. He says that he recommended, let me make sure I say it right in here. Thank you. Publicly stated that the proposed policy is not in the best interest of our Catsman Union High School district. And so, it's not about being right or wrong, I mean, or legal. I mean, it's somewhere in there, we have to ask if it's right or wrong for our district. There's a lot of things that are legal that aren't right. I mean, so, that's the second reason right there. And so with that, I mean, I would like, I'm trying to remember how to do this, but I mean, I think before we go on, I'd like to make an amendment propose an amendment to somewhere in that procedure right there where we use our superintendent as, like it should be in the Catsman Elementary School District. Everything goes through the superintendent, as it should. And so we need so I would like to make a proposal, make a motion to amend this MOU and add that the superintendent is make it look something like the Catsman Elementary School District procedures in there. I mean, other than that, I mean, we still have to have filters. We have to have some kind of filters in there. So I'd like to have a motion to add that into our.
Second that.
Mr. Mitchell?
No.
Mr. Salcedo?
Yes.
Mrs. Hawkins? No. Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzall? No.
Golly, you guys are shitting me, man. Golly.
Wow. What I'd like to do is address a couple comments.
We'll have discussion.
Yeah, back into the discussion. Is that it does state in here that it is addressed, that administration is involved in the 5-year process.
Tell me where that is. I mean, explain that. I mean, it has it in the first line and the second line of.
Right. So without going through the whole process, I just want to let you know that it is in there. And second, as far as the attorney's comment, that was on the first reading. Since then, we've had a workshop, we've worked on that. He came in, we made modifications, we've taken the attorney's words and comments. So that's language is from the original. Exactly. So that comment was from the original one that we've since been working on over the last 6 months, trying to make this the best policy for our district. We altered those comments are from the original. And so that's what we did as a board, is we had a workshop.
So have we went to the legal counsel again on it since we?
Yeah, all those things that we had our workshop was taken into consideration.
We've changed it since then.
No.
She amended it before.
Okay. Ready to move on?
We had
more discussion?
administration and we had classified.
So if I could go on record, I'm opposed to the policy. Thank you.
All right. Ready for a vote? Any more discussion?
Policy. Some of us opposed to the policy.
We all are.
Mrs. Dolzall?
Our kids.
Yes.
We are,
Mr. Wright?
our back here. We're people too.
Not your kids,
You know.
We've raised and taught ourselves and done things.
Mr. Wright?
Before I vote, I'd like to make a statement on my vote. I ran for this board because one of the goals that I wanted to do was to correct the meet and confer process. And I am proud to say that we did that this year. We had a successful meet and confer process that met my goal of what I hope to do as one of my agenda items for being on the board. We achieved that, and I'm proud that we were able to do that, because in the past, the meet and confer never has worked in this school. It has worked very sparingly, and for some reason, everybody got together without a document, and or a restrictive document or a very directive document. We got together with a very, very small document as a meet and confer process with a lot of hardworking people, and the meet and confer process worked. And we got a lot of accomplished, and I think everybody, for the most part, walked away from that table, and they were all happy. We still got some issues that we've got to work through, one of them being the horizontal advancement, which came on late, that we needed to provide more information on, that we're going to tackle next year. But for the most part, the meet and confer process worked. What I'm opposed to is the agreement that was thrust on us by the board president, and even though he says it was a collaborative effort by our board here to put forth this document, it was not a collaborative effort. Because if it was truly a collaborative effort, we would all be in agreement, and we wouldn't have such uprisings in our boardroom of people speaking against this policy and speaking for it, and having all the district divide that is going on right now. And it is simply the goal of our board president to push this on us for his alternative motive in the future, to get this document passed so he can do other things with it. He could have done better with this document had he reached out to all the board members and the community to make sure that it satisfied the people in the whole audience and satisfied everybody's wishes. And one of those wishes was to make it look more like the Casa Grande Elementary School's document that they have been using successfully across the street for 20 years. And why can't we use it? Why can't we make it work at our district? Why do we have to have some document that came from Colorado to come down and put us in our district and shove it down our throats and try to make it work? Well, I've got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. We may pass this document tonight, but I've been around here a long time, and I don't want to show my age, but these boards flip. Every 2 years, we have an election, and the boards flip. If they don't flip in 2 years, they're going to flip in 4 years. And when they flip, one of the first things that's going to go is this document, because it's going to go away. And we're going to start anew, and we're going to work on a new document that's going to please all of us. So, with that said, yes, congratulations to Mr. Mitchell and the other two board members that we have achieved passing a document that the majority of us has agreed to. There's been a lot of work that's gone into this document, but there's still some sticking points, as Mr. Salcido has tried to point out to us tonight, and he's continued to do in the last board meeting. There are still some sticking points that nobody's satisfied with. But with that said, I am voting no. Thank you.
And I would like to say that I will be voting yes, okay? And the reason why is because this is the first year we've ever had a process, and it is because we probably changed the board. And You know, there was, nobody said anything when we adopted a policy 2 years ago where board members were not even allowed to attend the meetings. We didn't have any meetings, and we were just blind. So, you know what? This meeting we attended, everybody was attended, and the board recommendation, the recommendations came out of the meeting. The superintendent wasn't even there. The board, all the people worked together, and they came up with the recommendations there. And I thought it was a very, very fair process. Okay, and I think this is, and this has been going on for 6 months now, and we've made a lot of changes to make it a good policy. And I think we're just trying to be fair to all the parties, administration, classified, certified, everybody.
Mrs. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Salcido?
Oh, before I might as well say a statement also, since everybody else has. So here we go. Mr. Hawkins said it right. The superintendent wasn't there. During this process, we went through a process that worked very well that does not really look like this one. I think she used the word pretty much. It pretty much looks the same. I think in the last meeting, but it's not the same. And so it is. It's sad that we're here, and I think I'm with Miss Russell over there. It's whatever. I'm here for you all and what's best for you, and I appreciate her statement right there because that was genuine. And you don't have to apologize to the group that you're with. I mean, that was a great statement. I mean, because we are one. We all should be wearing the color blue or black or whatever, what our school colors. But it is. We don't need to make silos of different groups and whatnot. And so, anyways, it's unfortunate that this is it. But there's another time, and I hope sooner or later we do build a skill to agree to disagree, which this is not. Do not replicate this skill. And so I'm voting no.
Mr. Mitchell?
Before I vote, I do want to thank you for your comments, and I understand, but I guess going at differences, have a kind of a different approach. I think as a board president is to open up dialogue about policies for our district. I so did that for everybody. You did vote yes originally on one time that was
Don't misconstrue. Don't turn that around.
So
come on.
So as I continue to go down this path, I do want to thank you for working with this and having a process and to be the president to bring these up and these issues that are going on in our district. And I want to thank you for recognizing that we did have a process. And we're always going to have an agreement by any means, and that's okay. When we ever go down this, if we could get everybody's agreement to agree on something, that would be great. But sometimes that doesn't happen. So I appreciate your no vote and where you stand and letting the community know. My vote is yes. All right. Moving on. Number 5, policy revision, first reading.
They just voted. She voted first.
All right, move to approve and adopt the second reading. Oh, just
First reading. Just say it.
I know, but I'm trying to, mine's not. All right, action, move to approve the first reading of ASBA policy revision, BBA, board member qualifications, and you said I have to read?
No, just add it.
Okay, as presented.
Yeah, and what these are, just so that you know, these are the School Board Association. Once the legislature goes through their process, then they go through the process of cleaning up board policies for every school district across the state of Arizona so that everyone is in compliance with state statute and state law. And so there'll be a few more of these come as more clarifications of laws that have been passed come out, but this is the first big batch.
Okay. Need a motion?
No, got a motion, need a second?
Second.
I have one question regarding it. So one of the policies, the 601 advisory, then corrects something in the original document, the 594 about technology. A parent can opt out if they took out the sentence that said if a child is prohibited from using technology.
Oh, okay.
So kind of, we probably don't need to do both.
Yeah.
And
They're gonna clean that up.
And then I just had a question. What if a parent does say that their child can't use technology? What do we do?
We haven't gotten direction from that, from the state yet.
Yeah, I don't see that in the previous, the 588 to 600, I don't see that.
It's not 594. So 601 corrects 594.
Yeah, because it's connected to the server.
They'll work that all out there, so I don't think it's a problem. They'll take the latest version, whatever the latest version is of it.
Ready to vote?
Mrs. Bozo?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Salcedo?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes. All right. Donations.
No audit services?
You're,
All right, auto services.
Did we use up all the power on Wes's computer?
They can. All right. Matters reserved for board action to approve the contract for audit services with Pinefield Beach and Corporation PC as presented.
I so move.
Second.
Can I ask who the 4 members on the committee were reviewing the RFP?
Gina can probably answer that better. The RFP for the Highfield Beach audit, who are the 4 members? Yeah.
On the committee?
And as far as the audit services, this is routine, right?
Yep, gotta have them every year.
All right. Any more discussion?
Mrs. Dolzall?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Salcedo?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes. Item D, donations. Mrs. Dolzall, would you like to read that? Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I'll go ahead. Move to approve the following donations. CGUHS football corporate sponsors Metals, sorry, Richard, that one. $500. Legati Dentistry, $750. Lopez Advanced Automotive, $250. And Fitzgibbon's Law, $750. $1,500 from Sunkist Kids to Casa Grande Union High School Wrestling Club. $25 for the CG Lions Club to CG DECA. 11 copies of All American Boys by Jason Reynolds, valued at $78.06. From Lisa and Mrs. Morris Wilkie to the Casa Grande Library. Well, thank you all very much for that.
Any second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
Thank you.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Salcedo?
Yes.
Mrs. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzall?
Yes.
Informational reports. Move to accept the following board informational reports as presented. District Finance report for August 2017 and Food Service report for July 2017. Motion?
I move.
Second? Discussion?
Mr. Superintendent, is our transportation report still missing in action, or what's going on there?
Is it not in the packet?
I received it, when, Gina, yesterday, today? Yeah, and
Because
so
of the
it was
holiday.
too
We'll
late.
send that out.
It was too late to add to the agenda, so I told him we'd wait till the next.
Holiday. We can send it.
Any
Lucido?
Yes.
Mrs. Hawkins? Yes. Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Stonewall?
Yes.
All right, 6 consent agenda. Anybody want to, guess we need to accept it first, right?
No, if you first ask if anybody.
Yeah, does anybody-
Any have questions or to pull anything?
Yeah, for the consent agenda. Anybody like to pull a specific item?
I have a couple of questions, but not full.
Well, you can pull and discuss if you want.
They're real minor.
Okay, you can ask.
Do you want me to ask before we accept?
No, we'll go ahead and, as long as you don't want to pull anything, then we can go ahead.
I move we accept them, the consent agenda A through L
That's it.
in its entirety.
Okay, questions. 6A, the Ronald Agalos, the resignation for math support, is somebody been hired to take his place? The one that didn't, that just kind of didn't accept?
So we brought in for breakdown, correct?
No, that was,
Will there be?
yes, yes, yes.
Yes, you are, it's on the agenda tonight to replace,
So we haven't yet?
if you vote on the consent, you will.
He's the one under the appointment for the math position.
But I thought, wasn't he the one that,
He was approved as a long-term sub until he got a certificate.
but he's not replacing, is he replacing the Ronald Agalos then, or? 'Cause I thought they were gonna have 2 positions.
Ronald Aguilas actually bowed out about a month and a half ago. We just didn't bring the resignation to you, so we'd already replaced him
Okay.
with the long-term sub, and now we're asking that the long-term sub become a certified.
Okay. I was glad to see that our hourly rate went up for athletic events. That was good across the board. There were several red, accounts in the red on the bookstore accounts.
Sheila?
Any idea, like for CG, the ID accounts, the page participate, JROTC, uniforms, Spirit Line tax donation? Any ideas on those?
She was coming.
Okay. Hi. The several bookstore accounts that were in the red, one of them had actually been in the red and then another expense put it farther in the red, the tax donation.
I think it's because we're still in the middle of switching from ABC Books to
Okay.
In Touch, so we're still in that transition.
When do you expect that to be done?
It should be within the next week or 2.
Yeah, that was the only question I was thinking of. Oh, I did have one more question. There was an $82,000 transfer out of the bookstore at Union. What was that? At the very bottom of their report.
I'll have to look at that one, I don't recall.
Now for Mary Ann. Volunteers, are those all the volunteers now that are out on the fields currently? And have they all been?
To the best of my knowledge, the answer is yes. I cannot confirm all the volunteers because I did not go out to the fields. Every coach has been trained. Every athletic director is out there. They tell them that they cannot work with kids unless they come through this process.
On 6K, the estimated value of the equipment that we're gonna be selling, I just wondered, like, where does the money go when we do auctions?
It goes into Tim Mace's rental account that he has.
And are the books being recycled through a paper company, so we reap some kind of?
If we can.
That's really sad.
Any chance we can make a nickel, we do.
Oh, the new change on the student handbook, 6L. Is there a plan, like what if a parent really does want to check their kid out and they forget until the PEP assembly has started?
There's not a way to find a student in a PEP assembly. We'd be lucky if we found someone.
But if they did happen to find them, would you let them
No, our policy says, it's been that way since I've been here. It's not new, we're just trying to give better clarification to it, because it's what we've been doing, so we wanted to clarify it.
Is there a message that's gonna go out to parents about the change?
And they also have that posted as well.
That's it.
Anybody else? Discussion? All right.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Salcido?
Yes.
Mrs. Hawkins? Yes. Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzall?
Yes.
All right. Item number 7, information and discussion item. Ingenuity, this was asked for a board member to, bring it up to discuss.
No, I just asked for a copy of the
Oh.
contract, that's all.
Come on, contract.
Oh, got it.
That's it.
That's it, that's all I wanted.
You okay?
And then Gina explained all the, where the money, the majority comes out of grants. Yeah.
Make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you all for coming.